Why?
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 Why? Why?
Why?
Why?
Why?
Why?
Why?
Why
words?
I remember the lies I was told as a child. Of course, I didn't know they were lies then, because children are born wet and believing. But for me, the wetness never left.
The word that comes into my head when I think of poetry is truth. So many things have happened to me since I've been younger, and I feel the need to literally speak what has happened.
When I was in the 4th grade, my teacher, Miss Stewart, told me that words were the greatest thing of all, that mountains lay in my pen, or oceans, or deserts, or any number of cliches, and I stood in front of my class wearing that pink hat, that pink skirt, that kitty cat shirt, and read my first real poems.
Something happened to me that was so terrible that as a writer, I lost my faith in words. It needs to be said that those moments of despair exist and they need to be given room to be talked about. There's just no end to the amount of ways that you can look at an experience. And so if people are going to try and tell me to stop writing about the traumas that I've experienced, I'm going to say no, because those traumas have an infinite number of lives and they need to be told.
She told me my words would do great things one day, and I believed her, because I never told him to stop. And all of my friends said it wasn't my fault, that I was 8 and drugged and tired from surgery, but for years I thought if I had just said no, no would have made all the difference. Maybe I wouldn't be so wet all the time. Then I was in the bathroom of an Amy's ice cream, hair all curled, because I was going to be in a show. He told me I looked beautiful. I beamed like some bright thing, and he began to touch me again. And that was when I knew Miss Stewart was a liar, because I said no, and it meant nothing.
I think that it'd be nice if people could put themselves in other people's places, especially at this time right now when the country's so divided. Poetry, it shows solidarity if nothing else. There's people out there across the country, across the world that are facing the same thing you're facing. Maybe not to the same detail, but they've faced death, they faced heartbreak, they faced a lot. And they just wanted you to know that you're not alone. It took a while. It took a couple of years for me to write about gay stuff. I didn't want to be defined as the gay poet, but after a while I was but that's what I know. That's why that's what's true to me. And so me reading about my gay experiences and my love encounters, if I ever had any, let's be honest, I'm horrible at dating, is a great example, or is a great way for someone who doesn't believe that gay is right to understand that it's the same thing as straight love or whatever. Persecution is whenever your community condemns you because you didn't fall for the right sex. It is when holding hands becomes dangerous. It is when love is taboo. It is when marriage is sinful, even if legal. It is murder. Cold blood droplets splattering across the floor, turning red, then dark red, and lastly brown, evidence of murder, slipping away to nothingness in this quiet, empty dance floor. It is ignorance and lack of vision when it comes to love, the hate, the therapies, the loss, the insults, blending all into one unsuccessful attack that keeps on going on with relentless, misplaced hope. It is when X becomes Y because of Z.
That's a wonderful thing poetry does. It's just, it makes people think. Experiences coming out, almost committing suicide, things like that. Those are heavy things that no one really knows how they feel like until they experience them. But when you hear them being expressed to the world, even if it makes like the poet themselves feel like so vulnerable and so prone to judgment, you can feel them too. You can kind of feel a little bit, a snippet of how it was to come out to your parents, or how it was when you felt so depressed you couldn't get out of bed, or how it was when you got bullied, and like all those experiences that are like really stressful, you can feel them. I use my body as the biggest carcass I can think of, designed to keep all of me in. Perfectly designed to appear nothing special on the outside, walls made out of skin, and electronic machinery capable of heating and cooling the rooms I enter dependent on my current mood. The body I reside in has everything one could wish for in a body, and perhaps even more. 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, and an attic designed to fit even the most distinguished guests. Tastefully decorated by smiles and perhaps considerable amounts of understanding. However, what no one knows is how the pipes make screeching noises at night, and how the walls sometimes seem to collapse onto themselves, how sometimes after showering you can see the words red drum written in the stain of the mirror, and can hear crying in the bathtub so loud and so strong you can hear the water splashing all across the living room, flooding the entire living space, kitchen catching fire, spiraling out of control, ruining the polished floors and perfectly painted walls. Nobody really cares about those things. Nobody really sees them. As I have said before, this body was specially built to keep everything in. A marvel of modern engineering. As you do with any type of art, you can shape language in any way you want to. And you can just like paint pictures with your words, and what you're saying gives people an idea of what you're thinking, as long as you find a way to communicate that effectively.
Mainly I deal with the kind of personal and emotional reflections of differences in culture, rather than like kind of like write a thesis about how cultures interact. So I try to use language to kind of implicitly compare like naturalistic ways of living, so a lot of forest imagery and a lot of naturalistic imagery, and then I compare that to like things people do now. All right. And me, I'm no stranger to combs of bamboo and bubbling cauldrons of hot pork chop stew. The cyanide coconut, sweet pickled string stalks are tumbling down streets where they don't know the climate. Atlantic coast rock beaches, now native to pandas, where leopards and rice field rats sleep at the wharf of Booth Bay. Don't go confusing home life with hotels. Things never do work out when we lie to ourselves. So mainly I write for an audience because that's kind of the whole point of writing, at least the way I see it. Because if I wanted to communicate something to myself, I wouldn't write it, I already know it. Yeah, that sounds kind of like sarcastic and not, yeah, but I guess that's the best way I can think about it.
I think poetry is a universal language, even if it's in another language. Things might be lost in translation, but I think the overall feeling, the overall impact of the poem, what drives the poem stays the same. I usually get backlash from people in my race saying the fact that I came out lighter skinned means that my experiences are invalidated, but I'm still a Latina, and my last name still has weight, even though I have lighter skin. You remind me of a Mexican princess, they say. How the hot blood running through your veins form a dripping red crown at the top of your head. Then comment how the color of my skin does not match the weight of my last name, then still say Paris instead of Bettis. question my language, point out the absence of my accent and my strong dislike of enchiladas. Call me racist as I paint a skull on my face, then stand in shock as I say, I'm Chicana, how dare you? I paint a skull on my face for the millions of ivory gems at the bottom of a river and under my too white skin. A lot of people are like, they think being overly emotional is something to be scared of. And so they like keep it all in. But I feel like when you let it out, especially through poetry, especially through like having conversations with somebody, which, you know, in a very rudimentary sense, that's what poetry is, having a conversation between a speaker and an audience. That's really the strength of it.
Poets around the world are writing a lot right now, And there are certain things that would take longer to say if you said them explicitly. It's almost as if the articulation through poetry and like the use of different poetic structures and techniques allows for messages to be heard and felt and understood much faster and on a much more personal level than they would be if the message was just blatantly spoken.
Weird how the words most sought after are the words least spoken. Weird how sometimes overheard laughter are just the words used by the most heartbroken. Weird how the words are not always words. You know, sometimes the loudest cries are the ones most often unheard. Weird because that's become so normal. You're hiding behind your smile, love. Please hide behind my smile, love. Well, then be sure to smile with your eyes so nobody can see you crying, because they'll lead right to your soul that is sure your love is dying. Please hide behind my smile, love. You're hiding behind your smile, love. No, not me. I'm just smiling.
I think there's something that's very deeply rooted in using words that certain things can't capture. Images can't always capture, and film can't always capture. It's not always what you get. You can't just look at it and know exactly what it means or know exactly how it's going to feel when you read it or when someone performs it. That's why words.
My name is Jasmine Bell.
My name is Sully Diaz.
My name is Anela Lope.
I'm Cole Stewin.
My name is Bianca Bettis.
My name is Imanis Fondi, and I do slam poetry.